Hello and welcome to the 30 something podcast. I am Callie and this is my co-host Melissa,
Hello.
where we spill the tea on all things 30s. So today is going to be a fun day. I'm excited about it. We're getting into dating and breakups and situationships. So it'll be fun. But as always, we start with something kind of fun or nostalgic. So today, my thing I wanted to share was food from the 90s. I don't know how we didn't all die because of the amount of sugar consumed, but you know what? It was really worth it. And I was thinking recently about the Dunkaroos and like how good those were. But the main thing I was thinking about, which came back, was Oreos. So they brought them back, I think it was 2017. And I used to like look on websites because like I love those things. But I used to look on websites because they sell them still in like Japan and Korea, like South Korea, obviously. And so it was like $60 though a box. And I was like, I can't afford that. So then they brought them back in America. So I like actually went to Walmart like right before midnight. And then like I found a random worker walking around and it was midnight. And I was like, hey, so these were supposed to come out today. Do you think I could get a box? So she like went in the back, got me a box of Oreos. But then I was so sad because I didn't have the marshmallows in them anymore. It was only like chocolate rings, not the marshmallows too. But it was still worth it. And I loved them and it was great. So Melly, I'll pass the mic over to you.
Awesome. Yes. So just a reminder, this is all things 30s. Callie is 30. I am 31. It has been quite the year, y'all. Quite the year. Um, but we're also on YouTube. If you want to actually see our faces, you can head over there. But we're so glad to have you guys here. Um, my nostalgic thing, if we're going off of food, this is really like, it's not like these aren't around anymore, so I feel like it's not that big of a deal. But guys, like, no, they aren't around anymore. I'm pretty sure every Halloween, I wasn't allowed to do Halloween as a kid. I don't know about anyone else, but I wasn't. So my family, we would go every Halloween to Pizza Hut, and we would, if you read like a certain amount of books, you could get like a personal size pizza. Did you ever do that, Callie?
Those are
Like,
still things.
are they
They
still
sell them at
doing
Target.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, but like at Pizza Hut
No, no,
specifically.
no, no. They sell Pizza Hut personal pan pizzas at Target.
Oh, well,
They're like Pizza Hut
that's
brand. No, 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 no.
it's
They are top tier. But like, no, you can still buy them.
no, it's more that like if you went to Pizza Hut and you showed them that you read like 10 books,
Oh, your book
they
thing.
would give
Yeah.
you a free personalized oh my word, I'm struggling with talking today. Personal size pizza. So that's what I'm saying is like I don't think they do that anymore, but that was like growing up every Halloween. We'd go get those on like anytime we read 10 books, we'd go get our like personal little pizza, but it was specifically on Halloween that I remember really partaking in that. So that's kind of my nostalgic thought. I don't think they're doing that anymore at Pizza Hut, but
I don't
yeah.
know. I'm like, go find like some third graders and ask. Like, hey, hey. So Melly, I'm also going to add in, so you had a very fun adulty thing that you've been getting
Ooh,
to recently.
ooh,
Would you like to
guys.
share? Unfortunately, not a Halloween
Yes.
show.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Oh, well, you were on TV. It's
Oh, no, no, no.
you were
Your
literally
thing was not a TV show. You
oh.
were, I don't know. You're not done yet. Maybe it will be. Okay, you tell what it is, and then everyone
Okay,
will
sorry, I got
understand
sidetracked
what
because
you're saying.
Callie literally was just on TV. Like last a couple weeks ago, she literally was on TV. Anyways, sorry guys,
Sorry.
I'm a little spazzy. I'm a little spazzy tonight, but I guess that's good because I'm excited to be here. You know, like that's what we want. A little hyper though, but so yeah, guys. Let me just tell you, it is a privilege, right? It's a privilege to be on a jury. I really do believe that with all of my heart. Like the fact that we have this system. However, not to take it political or anything, but like let me tell you, this is my second time in 3 years that I've been summoned to do jury duty. And it was also my second time being picked to be on the jury. And I'm convinced that anytime that I get summoned and I have to go and do jury duty, they will always pick me because I just look so neutral. Literally, like I just answer the questions and I'm just there. I'm just present. And they're like, she looks like she won't be like biased on anything. Like I'm like, ah. But yeah, so I literally got picked to be on the jury, and it was an adventure. You know, you sit a lot. You sit a lot, and like your whole day is sitting, and then you just want to go outside. Like you just desire
Have you watched Jury
to
Duty
see the
yet on
sun.
Amazon
I
Prime?
have not. I have
Okay, that was
not
what I was
watched
referring
it.
to. Because
No,
like
I realized that's what you were.
the best thing ever would be is if like you're actually Ronald, like in the end, and then like oh yeah, never mind. I'm gonna spoil it for you. Never mind. Keep
I was
going.
like, I've never seen it, so I don't even know who Ronald is. But I
You wouldn't
I
be
have seen
Ronald if you were on
commercials.
the show. I don't even know who you would be on the show, but
Well, I just think that, like what I really want to be a part of is that one show where they have one person who's not an actor and everyone else is an actor, and like they build the case up and up and up, and eventually it's like, can we make this like, will this person ever realize that this is just like ridiculous? Like
that's
it
the
looks
show.
so funny. That's jury duty.
Yeah.
I am, you know what? I'm thinking of a totally different show then. That's hilarious. I was
Yeah, so
thinking
I
of,
was hoping you'd be the non-actor in the situation. But
I
anywho,
wish so. Anyways, guys, we won't bore you with the jury duty, but I will say it's so interesting. My sister is 37. She has never been summoned. And like this, again, I was just summoned 3 years ago, and then I got summoned again. There's got to be a rhyme and reason here. Like, there's so many people in the world. Like, why do I keep getting picked? Come on.
all I know is Toby is the Scranton Strangler. Okay, you can't
He
convince me he's
is.
not. So
Toby is the strangler. Why was I struggling there? I just said
I
it's
don't
been a
know.
long
Ryan's under
day.
the fire. Toby's the Strangler. Yeah.
Just some
So,
rhymes. Oh my gosh, guys, we're not gonna bore you. Well, really quick, Callie, how was your time on TV?
oh, so much fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that'll air in July. So I was on a show called Impact on Revelation TV in Europe, which was really cool. So I was on 2 episodes and then I'm going to be on another episode.
Killing
So
it.
it was outstanding. Like I loved every minute of it. It was really surreal for me, really cool, really crazy to get like hair and makeup done prior and totally mess up the sound checked for them because I just am kind of a adult. But I tried and then we got the sound checked right. But it was super fun. It was really, really great. It was totally different than I thought it was going to be. Um, but yeah, I would love to do it again, and that would be pretty cool. So
It's gonna be your life now.
you
Seriously.
know what, maybe I'll be Ronald on jury duty next. So I don't know.
Also, just really exciting. Like people that I don't even realize like are following us are like, you're coming out with a podcast. Like I'm like, yeah, it's so weird. It's like, thank you for whoever's getting the word out about us, because like we're just two girls just talking about being in our 30s, and it's kind of cool that people are really enjoying this. So thank you to everyone who's been listening.
100%. I love it
A
too.
hundred.
Yes. So as we segue into dating, Melly, I'll let you take the lead on it.
Oh, oh well, thank you. um, guys, so we all have dated, like, like some people have dated in high school, some people have dated in college, like whenever, you start that journey of life when you're dating, that like you might find that like casual dating is kind of in the picture for a little bit, right? Like when I was in college, like I'd see a cute guy and I'd be like, well, I hope he asks me out. And then we go on one date and I'm like, you ain't it. Like, or, just because he was cute, maybe that sounds so shallow, but you're in college and you're just kind of like, you just want to be with someone, you know? Um, and so, but what I found like in my 30s is I'm so grateful for the experiences that I had in my 20s, where like I dated um a couple like people pretty seriously, and then those relationships ended, and I realized a lot of stuff I did not want in a husband. Like, I'm really grateful for those relationships because I realized they would have never worked. They would have literally like just like never worked. And here I was thinking, this is totally my husband, like totally my husband. And then we would break up, and I'd be like, oof, there's some red flags there, or I didn't really love that he, didn't respect this part of me or something. So then I literally, guys, I'm that person. I do write down what I am praying for in a husband. And I'm that girl. But I think that that's important to know what you want. And so in your 30s, like, you're not just really dating to like date anymore. You're like, okay, I'm ready to find my partner. I'm ready to find the person that I'm going to do life with. And honestly, I think dating in your 30s is so fun because you're like, you are looking for your life partner and your soulmate and your best friend, and you're no longer just like messing around and like, this guy's really cute, so I'm gonna date him for a little bit, or he made me laugh, so I'll date him for a time being. Like, you know after that first date exactly if it's gonna be a yes or a no, because you're not really wasting time anymore. You're like, and I'm only speaking on my own personal behalf, but you're ready to find that life partner. And that's like a big difference, having been someone who, I don't want to say I was just like dating left and right in college, but like definitely if a boy asked me out in college, the chances of me saying yes were pretty high. Whereas in my 30s, I'm like, I can already tell based off of this and this that I just don't think we're going to be a good match.
Yeah, I think there's a
I hate
difference.
to make it sound like I'm cutting people off too early, but you know what you want.
Yeah, well, I think there's a difference in the intentionality. I had that happen kind of in my mid 20s is when that started. Because my early 20s, it was more kind of like, I don't know if it would like, from my personal experience, like I didn't date a ton in my early 20s. I think I'm such a shy person that it just didn't like come up as much. Um, or if it did, it was just kind of like one or two dates, and then that was about it. And then my mid 20s, though, I remember I went out with this guy, so nice. To this day, I really think the world of him. He's really just a kind person. So it was like a blind date set up by my grandmother's friend or something like that. I don't know. Like, and we went to this restaurant and I had tiramisu for the first time. And I just remember him tell that was a really unnecessary detail. But I remember him telling me, I'm turning 26 in a month. I was 25 at the time, about to be 26. And he was like, I'm turning 26 in a month. And just, I'm being honest here. If you're not feeling it, I'm not saying I'm not feeling it, but I'm saying if you're not feeling it at any point, please tell me because I don't want to invest in something that there's
Mm,
not that mutual feeling. And I really respected that. Like that opened my eyes a lot. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. And, for me personally, I remember I prayed about it for a couple days because he was really cute, and really nice. I accidentally, in my awkward self, said that he was cute out loud to him, and
oh,
he made some joke, and I was like, "Oh no!" It was a Lord of the Rings joke, and I was like,
oh, those are always the best.
but I like for myself, I will pray about stuff, and so I prayed about it, and I actually had this dream, and in the dream, it was like super evident that he wasn't it, and I was like, okay. Um, so I told him and he actually took it really well and we're still like friends on Facebook, and he likes all of my Lord of the Rings posts. But I just remember the takeaway from that was kind of this shift in mentality of like it is actually okay to say from the get-go, hey,
Mm,
if you're not feeling this, I would rather you tell me now than us get 3, 4 months down the line and then you tell
yeah,
me. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and I don't think there's anything wrong. I think there's actually an like elevated level of respect when you do that. And it
Mm,
caused it that he and I actually are on really friendly terms. and there were no hard feelings because of that, you know?
Mm,
So it
yeah.
saved some of that awkwardness and heartbreak, and so that was something really big, just looking at the idea of intentionality, but, like, taking it a little bit further, like, "Hey,
Mm,
it's okay if it's not right," you know? It doesn't mean we can't be friends
yeah.
kinda thing too.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So
Yeah, dating is it's we were actually talking about this. It's not that you're like, I'm getting old, so I have to get married. Like that's not the case in your 30s, like when you're dating. It's just like for me personally, I just got tired of the unintentionalness. Is that even like a word? But like I just got tired of that. Like it was just like I don't want to be with someone who's like not intentionally pursuing me because I know that I'm going to intentionally pursue them if I feel like they're someone that I could marry, you know? And again, it's not putting that heaviness on the I'm in my 30s, I should be married by now. It's more I am not playing games anymore because I'm
Mhm.
tired of the games. I'm tired of the like just like kind of stringing that person on maybe or they're stringing you on and like just with what you were just saying like hey if you're not feeling this like just tell me because I think in your 20s sometimes you're like I don't want to hurt this person or like they're really fun to be around but I can't see myself marrying them like you know but for me personally being in my 30s um I just keep saying that because that's the stage of life I'm in is in my 30s. Um, sorry guys. I've had a cough ever since we started the podcast and it won't go away. Um, but yeah, I think it's like it's all about the being intentional with that person is the newness.
Yeah.
Um, and I know we've talked about this, but like both of our parents got married like in their 20s. Like my parents were a little older than yours. My mom was like 27 and my dad was 24 or something like that. And you know, I think when I was in my 20s, I was like, well, I hope this guy is the guy I married, but you know, it was like there were so many red flags that then I was like missing because I was like, well, I hope it's him. And then in your 30s, you're like, red flag, red flag. No, it's gonna be a no.
Yeah, well, and I think too, the flip side of it though, with being intentional is looking at that it's okay to call it. So even if I have a lot of friends who, or people I have witnessed who have been in relationships for like a really long time, like over a few years. And I think they come into this place like, oh, well, then we should just get married, you know?
Mm,
And I think they fall into kind of that rut. And it's like, yeah, but like, should you? Like, is that actually like
mm,
are you just doing that because it's the easiest thing, or is that, like,
mm,
actually another form of settling? Is that just a comfort person, or is that person, like,
mm,
actually your spouse? And that's something that I really thought about too. Like, I haven't experienced that personally, but I've witnessed it so many times, and so I think also part of being intentional is, like, if you really pray about it and you feel convicted, like, "Hey, this person's actually more just, like, a comfort person and maybe more of a
mm,
friend that I've known for a really long time, but not endgame," like, that's okay too, because you're actually doing them more of a favor because then they have that opportunity, on the other side of it too. I just am thinking about my friends who have gotten divorced, and that's kind of like all of the friends I have that have gotten divorced, it wasn't because of infidelity or anything else. That was actually like what happened. Um, and that just I don't know, that's been, like, going around in my head a lot too, and that's a weird thing in your 30s, like, you start having friends who got divorced,
yeah.
um and looking at that, like, how can I support them and be, like, a loving friend to them? And I think too, I feel more inclined, like, see something, say something.
Mm,
Like, the friends who are not married yet, like, if you sense that hesitancy in them, like, or hesitation in them, offering, like, "Hey, I don't want you to end up like this person over here
mm,
5 years down the line," like,
mm,
um, and so that's really been a big thing that I've noticed just as well, kind of like part of what being intentional also is. And
mm.
sometimes that is breaking it off, and that's That's sad, but maybe that segues into breakups a little bit.
Yeah, which I think I'm gonna be able to get through this. With everything you just said, like kind of like hit home, and I'll kind of expand into it. But I am going through a breakup, y'all. um, and it's just like kind of hitting me a little hard right now, but I think it's just still pretty fresh. And we went back and forth on if we wanted to talk about this, and Callie was really respectful. She kept saying like, "Are you sure you want to do this episode? It's still pretty fresh." And I just decided it's best to do it fresh because this is real. This is raw. And that's we're bringing the tea on being 30. We're being raw. So I figured let's just do it. But I do want to apologize in advance. It's just a tender subject, but basically I thought I met the love of my life, guys. I was so I still am very much in love with this man, and we dated for 2.5 years, and it was an investment and it was intentional, and i I pursued him very hard. Man, guys, I when I say that, like, he checked, that sounds weird to say, he checked a lot of boxes, but more specifically, like, he was the man that I prayed for. Like, I was like, man, Lord, if this is the guy, then like I understand why those other relationships didn't work. Like, I get it now because he is what I need. Even in ways that like I I didn't know I needed. And kind of with what Callie was saying about the comfort, he kind of opened up to me 2.5 years later. But it's not his fault. I think he was just trying to figure it out himself. But he was like, I'm comfortable with you. And I'm kind of paraphrasing because this isn't exactly what he said, but it's kind of along the lines. But like, I don't know if I see marriage. And it was so hard to hear that because I was so looking forward to spending the rest of my life with this man. And for him it was like I was the easy decision, and he wasn't sure if I was the right decision. And that is so hard because it's led me to fighting the constant thought of what's wrong with me. Like, um why am I not wife material? Or and I know that that is not necessarily what's happening here, but it is something that comes into your mind as a woman who you put it all out there for that person. And he knew the deepest part of me. I mean, we really invested in each other very deeply in those 2.5 years. And yeah, I do constantly fight the thought of why wasn't I enough. And even though that I know in the deepest part of me that sometimes that person's only there for that season to grow you. And I grew a lot. And it was an honor being in that relationship, and I loved every moment of it. But at the end of the day, it really is a two-way street. And he just wasn't able to, it wasn't for him. But one thing I just have been thinking a lot about is probably why it makes it so hard is like we left on pretty good terms. We still occasionally will just like be like checking in on each other, just making sure the other person isn't like totally in a deep depression. But like, even if you leave that person on good terms, it doesn't really change the fact that like the loss of that dream and future you built with that person is something that you're still processing in losing and grieving. And I'm going to take it to the extreme and just say it's like losing someone um, who passed away, but that person's still alive and they're roaming, but they become a stranger to you, and you no longer know, you know, what they're up to. So it feels like they've died, like, and a part of your life kind of has died. Um, and I know that that sounds really like dark and depressing, and I just feel like there's women out there who women and men who really thought that they met that person, and they were like, that day is coming any moment now, that we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, and that that dream ends and dies. And we just have to hold on to the fact that if it wasn't them, then it is going to be someone even better. And that's hard to like process, but one door doesn't shut without another opening.
Mm.
And that's something I really believe, even though going through it, like, and it being so fresh, it's just kind of like hard to process that. But you have to let yourself grieve the loss, um, because otherwise you're going to hold on to that, and it's going to bleed into your next relationship.
I'm proud of
I'm
you.
going to sip my tea.
um
I'm hurting, guys, but it will get better. I know it will, because I've been through this before. I've been through breakups before. Never like to the extent of, again, like I really thought this man was my husband, but like I have been through it, and I know that like when I met this guy, it all made sense why the others didn't work out. So if it's not this guy, that same thing's going to happen, to where I'm going to meet that right person, and it's going to make sense why this didn't happen, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, that was really brave.
Mm.
For the last segment that we were going to share, we're going to talk about situationships as well, which I have found myself in, unfortunately, a few times. Not on purpose, not intentionally. But that definitely has been like, for me personally, more often than not. And it's kind of like when it ends, it is kind of like a weird hybrid breakup. Um, but I have a situationship basically is one where no one has, I guess, the like it in them to like be like, can we define this relationship? And then when you do, it usually kind of goes awry. And I've been on both ends of it. Um, but that's definitely something that I think, looking at the friendship aspect of it too, because for me it's happened a lot with guy friends, and I've learned to be very cautious about having friends that are guys. And I've learned a lot more in the way of boundaries, but what's hard is when then that situationship breaks up, and that's what I've experienced more than anything, is that idea of like, and then you lose that friend. And I think that's difficult as well because they become part of your everyday, in your routine and your normal. And um, I had a situationship happen at work when I worked retail a few years ago. And I felt so bad because I didn't realize that he was thinking that there was something there that there just was not. Um, and then I was so sad to lose that camaraderie and the friendship and the joyful aspect of that. And then had another one where one of my favorite people, we were prayer partners and with this other gal. And so we would all have kind of like, we would do Bible study together and we would do all things like that. And then she kind of ducked out after a while because she got super busy, but we are like, oh, well, we'll continue on with doing that. And then he confessed feelings for me, and I felt so bad because all that time I had just really truly seen him as a brother in Christ. And then, and I mean that so sincerely, not in that horrible way of girls who like lead on guys. But I'm so genuine in that. And so I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. But that was really difficult because I lost that friend, and I lost um a whole lot out of that situationship, and that made me so sad. But I definitely learned, kind of taking forward, like what it means to look at it, like if you're in a situationship, kind of using discernment of like, how do I need to make sure that I am making it clear my boundaries, or I'm making it clear and known my intention. And I think a lot of that comes back to that. Even hanging out with one of my guy friends the other week, I wasn't sure if he was asking me out or if we were just literally hanging out. Um, and so I actually just kind of preemptively was like, hey, so this is just like a friend hangout though, right? Just making sure. And it totally was. And I was so glad. So we were on the same page. Um, but just looking at that so that I wouldn't fall into that again, because that whole other side of it, where the situationship breakup is a sad thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think rounding out though, we just want to encourage you guys, like in the way of relationships can be a really beautiful thing, but they can also be rocky and they can be hard to navigate. But I think it comes down to really searching your own heart and looking at it and putting, doing what you can to be intentional. But
Yeah.
also looking at it, it's okay to not be okay after things don't go the way that you had hoped. And
Yeah.
it's okay to be really vulnerable and honest about that too.
Yeah. And I think, like, as someone who's going through it right now, one thing I kind of realized, I'm so sorry, guys, the other day was the reason I'm hurting so much is because I cared so much. So just remember that is if you're going through a breakup right now and you are really, really hurting, or you're going through a, what are you calling it? A situational ship?
Situationship, yeah, it's not like
That
a real
thing.
relationship. It's like
if
a
you're if you're going through something like that, like and then that's like a friendship is maybe ending from that, um it's just the pain is because you cared so much. And so don't necessarily fight the pain, just grow in it. And feel it. That's like my biggest thing, because I talk to a lot of people who are going through grief, just because I'm a cancer survivor and an amputee. And my biggest thing has always been like, don't try to stuff it down, go through it. Like it's like if it was like pouring rain, and like you pull over because you're like, I'm gonna wait for the storm to subside. No, just maybe, I mean, this is like, if it's gonna affect your safety, this is a different thing, but you get what I'm saying. Just it's like going through the storm, and processing through it and not trying to stuff it down. And I think that's the same thing with these breakups, is let yourself feel it. Like I've kind of been telling myself, I'm like, you're not gonna feel this always, but just feel it while you're feeling it, if that makes sense. So yeah, like Callie said, we're really hoping that we can kind of encourage you guys with this. And the next episode, we're actually gonna be having my sister on. She is in her 30s. She was 37 when she actually got married. So that's going to be our next topic, is marriage. And of course, me and Callie are not married, so we wanted to touch on it, um, but we didn't really know how we would do that. So we're going to bring Jessica on, and it's going to be a much more fun episode. I know this episode probably felt a little heavy, but relationships are beautiful, and we hurt because we care, and we're gonna get through it,
100%. Also,
Me and Callie are just staring at each other.
please be sure to send in your stories or questions or stuff like that. We're doing a Q&A episode in a few episodes, and we would love to hear from you guys. So that can include just absolute wild stories of things that you experienced or questions that you had that you'd love for us to answer on, or anything else. So our inbox is very much open on the Instagram. So just let us know. And we're excited to see that. So thank you for joining us today. Where we are 30s, thriving, and sometimes kind of sort of maybe surviving.
Bye, guys.